Hey, what's up everyone? Mike here, and today I'm going to be introducing you to AOSiP. Now, this is in fact my daily driver for my Nexus 6, but it is not exclusively only for the Nexus 6. It is actually available for some other devices, and I will include in the description found below, as always, everything I go over in this video, as well as the AOSiP ROM, so you can go check out and see if this is available for your particular device and get it running. Now, this ROM is super stable and the performance is insane. You can flash pretty much any custom kernel and get some superb battery results. Now, if you are interested in which kernel I am using with this particular ROM, I am in fact running right now the Hells kernel, and I've been nothing but impressed with the results. Real quickly to tell you what the results I am getting is anywhere between 6+ hours of screen on time with the settings I use, and I will be going over my kernel settings in the later half of this video after I explain the overview of this particular ROM and why I use it as my daily driver. Now, to sum up what AOSiP is currently running in terms of Android, it is in fact running Android 5.1.1. The build number in this particular build is LMY47V. Now, it is release candidate 4, as I mentioned, and was released on May 3rd, so it's relatively pretty new, but super stable. Haven't had any issues whatsoever. Let's go ahead and dive into it. You are going to see that I am using a layer with this particular ROM. It does in fact support layers, so if you want to know what I'm using, you're going to see the colored nav bar here. This particular layer does have two different system UIs or frameworks, and you can change that nav bar if you don't like the colored features. So you will have both the colored option as well as the regular nav bar that you can go in there and choose from. But I am in fact using pastels. Now, there are two different versions. There's a light version as well as a full. So if you don't want to purchase the full version, you can check out the light version first. It's not going to have as much stuff layered, obviously, because the full version has to have a reason for you to buy it, which is only $1.50, and I definitely recommend you buy it. You can go in here and read more and see everything that is layered. I mean, it's a ridiculous list, and it gets updated quite frequently. Definitely support this developer and check it out if you like what you see here on screen, and I'll be going over more of that as we check out this ROM. So one thing I like about this ROM is the fact that everything is where it needs to be, and that is in the owl's nest, except for, of course, the expanded desktop, which is a new feature. They'll probably put it in here later. But another thing that I really like is the gesture swipe in your settings here. So you can see that even though I'm in status bar, I don't have to go through a ridiculous list of stuff, and I don't have to go back into another subcategorized menu. Everything's where it needs to be, and it's just super fluid, and it flows really, really nicely. And I actually use swipe navigation, which I'll be going over in a later video, and that makes it even better because I can go and swipe, and then I'm getting gestures and sliding through my menus. It's just so awesome. I really, really love this ROM. So, okay, enough blabbing. Let's go ahead and talk about it. You have your status bar features here. You have your clock and battery. You have your battery bar and your homeless bar settings. So in clock and battery, you'll have the option as always to change your clock style alignment. You can place it right, center, or left. Complete customization. You can also hide it if you're a fan of widgets or you want to use any kind of custom minimal experience type clock or anything like that, or just completely disable it. But standard stuff, AM, PM styles, date styles, and date formats. You can get crazy, crazy customized here with your clock and date. Battery information down here at the bottom. Typical stuff, you have your icon, portrait, landscape, circle, text, or you can hide it. And you have your battery percentage information where you can place it inside the icon, next to the icon, or hide it altogether. You also have a greeting feature, which was recently put into the ROM itself in release candidate 4. So you can place a little greeting up here in the top left corner every time you unlock your device. It will be placed up here. Battery bar location, you only have one option here, and that is on the status bar. Some other options in other ROMs, you know, you can put it on the nav bar. Maybe they'll put that in later. I don't know. I don't really use nav bar, or battery bar rather, but you do have it. So you can check that out. You can change the color to anything you want to match your theme or whatever you want. Just be aware that if you use it, you know, you might get some screen burn in over time if you leave it on for a really long time. So you might not want to use it, or if you do, don't use an extremely bright color. That's just what I'm going to recommend. Now, the bar alignment can be changed from regular to center mirrored, and you can put a charging animation in there. And you can change the thickness as well if you want to have this little feature. So you can take away that battery icon and put this in there instead. Maybe, you know, change things up. Pretty cool little option. Swipe over, you get your homeless bar settings, so you can place the brightness control on your status bar there and slide it back and forth. You can also disable the slider there to take up less real estate in your quick settings if you want to in another panel option, which I'll show you later or in just a couple minutes. Quick pull down here is only available on the right side. There is no left option, not a big deal. You know, left is notifications, right, quick toggles. So cool stuff there with that toggle. Buttons, you're going to have a lot of great stuff in here. You have your navigation bar. You can completely edit this. You can add buttons down here, pages, actions. I actually, when I use the navigation bar, I put in a menu button, and you can obviously move this around if you want to. But the reason I use the menu button is because let's say I'm in Maps, Google Maps, and I'm using one hand, or just a particular application where the menu options way up here in the corner. And, you know, it's like, hey, I can't really reach it sometimes because I'm doing something and it's a big phone, you know, it's a big ass phone. So having it down here is really nice to just get the menu option really quickly. But you can save it, keep it that way. You can restore it back to whatever you want. You can swap buttons, icons, actions, whatever. Pretty great stuff. Navigation ring targets was recently put into RC4, so you can have your nav ring targets. You do have 3 to choose from. You can use actions or you can select applications. Pretty awesome, right? So basically this will just be a quick launch when you hit that home button. But hey, wait man, it's not working. This must be a bug. What's going on? Nope, it's not a bug. It's just not enabled. And that is in the next option here in homeless button settings. So just swipe over. Once you have that enabled, go to the bottom. You'll see enable navigation search panel. So you'll see it's not working. Toggle that on and booyah, we're in business. Dimension settings with the nav bar is included in portrait and landscape mode, so you can change the size of that nav bar. And what I really like about AOSiP is it scales the buttons, not so much the nav bar itself. Button settings and your buttons options, you're going to have your clear all button here. So if you go into recents, you'll see I have my clear all button. Top, right, left, center, same thing with the bottom. You also have clear all tasks where you can kill everything, including the foreground, or you can choose whether or not you want to do that. You also have the option to place a search panel or search bar up there in your recents if you like that for whatever reason. Volume buttons, you have keyboard cursor control, standard stuff. Wake up the device with the volume rockers, or playback control, long pressing when the screen is off. You can change your music tracks. I don't use it because I'm always accidentally hitting that daggum thing in my pocket. Double tap to sleep on the navigation bar. Be aware of that. There is no double tap to sleep on the status bar. I would like to see that featured in the next update. Hopefully it will be included in the future because I like double tapping that status bar. Now, notification drawer is going to be pretty sick. It's not going to have a super customizable amount of tiles, but it's going to have everything you pretty much need, or at least in my opinion, what I need. This might change in the future, but you have your basic stuff here: airplane mode, battery saver, brightness, hotspot, NFC, screenshots, and sync. Now, what I like to keep in mind is the screen timeouts, cast screen rotation, flashlight, location, data connection, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. It's worth noting that the power menu is not going to give you any additional quick toggles or anything like that, like some other ROMs do, but you have your necessary stuff here: power off, reboot, advanced reboot stuff here. Now, I am going to make a note that you will need to enable developer options by tapping on that build number a bunch of times. I think it's like 8 or so. And you'll basically get your advanced reboot settings. Let me just go ahead and show you that real quick. So go into About Phone, double tap this thing a million times until you get your developer options right here. Once you get in here, you're going to see that advanced reboot is ticked. However, you have to disable it and then re-enable it to actually get your advanced reboot option. So make sure you do that, otherwise it's just going to reboot your phone, hard reboot. It's also worth noting that there is no soft reboot with AOSiP currently. I would like to see that included in a future update. But yeah, you can adjust your tiles, you can move things around based on your preferences, add, remove, based on what you have here. Now, it is worth noting that you don't have the detailed settings or quick toggle with Wi-Fi, so it'll just be on and off in the current version. It is relatively pretty easy to get into your settings. You just long press it, and it won't take very long to get into your advanced settings there, but no detailed settings with that. Now, you will get that with your GPS though, so you will have that available, which is great, but I would like to see that with the Wi-Fi and even maybe the Bluetooth. Show 4 tiles per row. You can enable this. You can choose whether or not you want to have the default stock look with 3 rows or 3 icons or tiles, whatever you want to call them. You can also enlarge the first 2 if you want to. So you can get your quick settings through this method if you want to highlight those. I like to keep those disabled, it takes up less screen real estate. You have more here. You can also disable that slider there if you're using the status bar instead, or you're using automatic brightness or whatever. So it'll take up less space. Sound and notifications, super great stuff here. You are going to have your LED lights, so you can come in here and change those up based on RGB. You can get some kind of custom colors, but they're going to get weird because it's like half a color. I don't know, the LED on the Nexus 6 is just weird. It's like it's there for a reason, but it's not. It's like they kind of messed up on that one. I don't know what's going on, but you have customization here. You can change it up with your notifications based on missed calls, applications, if you want to add anything specific. You guys know the deal by now, but it is in here. Battery light, just be aware that if you do flash the Franco kernel, you can't disable it. You'll have to go through the Franco kernel app or something that will be able to adjust that through an application. If you are using Elemental X or Hells Core, it will be toggleable. By default here, you can actually go in here without going into a specific application or any kind of custom app or anything like that. So if you plug it in, you want to disable the light, just go in here, toggle it off, and it will change. Now the lights you can change as well, all customizable if you want to do that. You can change your volume steps, which is super awesome in the latest build. What this is basically is the amount of times you can change your volume intervals. So let's go into Ringer, and you'll see here, and you can go from anywhere to 5 steps or 60. 60 is ridiculous, but let's just show you real quickly what this is. So 5 steps basically means if I change my volume here, you'll see 5 steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what that is. So if you change this to something ridiculous like 60, yeah, I mean, you can do it to pretty much anything you want to. So 60 steps, pretty awesome, right? So you can change that up to anything you want to in here, 60 to 5. And you also have the option to link ring and notification volumes if you want to. You can have 4 panels to choose from or just 3. And as I mentioned, you will get the panel here, and it will memorize which panel you were in last, which other ROMs don't really do. So if I keep 3 panels, it will keep 3 panels. If I just want 1 panel, it will keep the 1 panel. So that's awesome. And then you have your regular stuff here, priority modes, and you do have your vibrate silence and complete silence without going into priority mode. So that's awesome. So that's everything in sound and notification. You can swipe over, get interruptions. So you can go into app notifications and get real specific. You can turn off, block an application from doing notifications through that little method there with app notifications. And you can go in here and choose your priority options, and you can go into downtime and set your days specifically when you don't want notifications to come through, start times, end times. Lock screen was recently updated. Before, it only had default or select applications, and you can come in here and obviously select a specific application to launch from the lock screen, or you can now disable it in release 4. So I like that because when I put this phone in my pocket, it's bound to wake something up and do something ridiculous. So I leave them disabled, but you can come in here, choose to use the default, which is phone and the camera, or you can choose an action specifically or an application. So full customization there. I really, really dig that and like that. And it's all simple. You know, it's very easy to find. Included recently as well is the interface option here, which is gesture anywhere. You can toggle this on. You can also change the location from left to right. So full customization here. You have trigger widths, trigger positions, and trigger height. So you can change up where you want to place that trigger, whether or not you want to take up the whole screen, how much of the screen. Basically what this is it is just going to launch an application or action when you make a gesture. So we'll go ahead and put this on the left. We'll add a gesture. So I have calculator in here already. If you long press on your gesture setting here, it will basically let you edit or remove. I'm going to go ahead and delete it. We're going to add a new gesture. You can also reload when you have them. But we're going to go ahead and hit application, calculator, and then you basically make the gesture that you want to launch that application. So we'll just do a C, and then we'll hit done. Now, if you don't want that, you want to make like a money sign. Let's go ahead and select it again. Calculator. Let's just make a really bad money sign. That's more like an 8. But anyway, you get the idea. So we'll add it, and then now it's added. We'll go back. I don't even know if I can. Is that it? Yeah, all right. So now we launched the calculator. You get the idea. You can set that up any way you want to, and that's how that works. You have expanded desktop. You can come in here and make full screen mode all the time. If you want to get your stuff back, you just swipe down, you'll get your nav bar back, status bar back. But if you want to enable it for a specific application, just find the one you're talking about here. We'll just say Facebook, which I almost never use, and you can hide the status bar specifically only, or you can hide the navigation bar only, or you can hide both and go into full screen mode. It's pretty great for like Chrome and stuff like that when you're browsing. You can also choose to hide nothing. So that's pretty much it feature-wise. Now, if you guys are interested in my kernel settings, we'll go ahead and dive into that puppy right now. What I use is kernel auditor, or at least that's what I call it. I don't know if it's spelled wrong or if I'm saying it wrong, but I'm assuming it's kernel auditor, whatever. But it's basically a free application available on Google Play, and you can download this to adjust your kernel settings, and it's really, really simple. You can also go into settings here, and you can choose whether or not you want a darker theme. It's not really black, but it is darker, so it will save some battery life, I presume, much more than just blasting full white pixels. Go ahead and hit CPU. You'll see apply on boot at the top, which I recommend you turn on once you change the features. Now with Hells Core, you are already maximized at 2649, but just make sure you are maxed out. In the minimum frequency, you can change this to whatever you want, but I recommend 300 megahertz minimum. If you go any lower, you might have some issues. CPU maximum screen off frequency is defaulted at 1190, which is 1190. I go a step down to 1036. Not a huge difference, but it is a difference. You can change it up. Sometimes I go to 652 or 883, but I like the sweet spot at 1036. It's just below the halfway mark on the CPU on the Nexus 6. CPU governor is set at performance by default. I change it to interactive. So if you are going to use my settings, make sure you check that out, set it up appropriately, and hit apply on boot. Now I also changed my CPU voltage. I do actually underclock. I apologize for hitting the camera. I do underclock by 25. So you're going to notice here in the CPU voltage tab, there's a global offset feature up at the top. Go ahead, tap that. You'll see a negative and a positive, and it will be in intervals of 5. So I go down 25. Negative. Do not hit plus. I go down. I undervolt to negative 25. I hit OK, and it will basically set it. Make sure you apply on boot. Now, for some reason, it bugs out and won't show it. But there it is. Just make sure you hit that, and you're good to go. You can play with this and go down steps of 25. I recommend. I wouldn't really go below 25 or anything below 50. Some people claim they can get under negative 100, but that's just dangerous. You're going to get a lot of forced closing, and sometimes you might not even be able to boot your device. Negative 25 with Hells Core is stable with the Nexus 6, so check that out. You'll get good results and still be plugging away with great performance. Now, CPU hot plugs, GPU, I don't really mess with that. It is using Mako hot plug. You can come in here and get crazy if you know what you're doing, but if you don't touch this area. The only other thing that I do change is the IO scheduler. Now it is set to FIOPS. FIOPS is what I like to call it by default. If you are super heavy on multitasking or crazy excessive usage and you'd like a lot of gaming, NOOP Noop is probably going to be your better option, but be aware that you're not going to get as great battery results. Deadline is decent, but probably one of the worst. CFQ is default Android stock kernel settings. It's basically a queuing scheduler. It's decent. FIOPS is pretty much right dead in the middle. It's great on performance and great on battery. And that's what I use. I love FIOPS. There's some other ones that aren't currently with this kernel, and there's some great ones that I can go over in another video. But FIOPS, definitely recommend. Read ahead, I do change. I believe the default is 1024. Default stock kernel is 512. I go all the way down to 1536. Set that bad boy on a boot. You're good to go. Everything else I leave on default. They do have a profile manager in here. So go ahead and make sure you toggle up your profile and you can select what category you changed. And then you can set a name. My name's Walter, whatever your name is. You can change it up in there. Save it. And you can just toggle it real quick. Hit apply. You can also delete it. You can see your information, everything that you set as well. I might include a PDF file for you guys just to make it super easy to see all my settings instead of watching the video. But that's what I use to get my results, which is roughly about 6+ hours of screen on time with my Nexus 6 with barely any issues. I'll go ahead and show you right now what I'm cooking with. I've been using it really, really intensively, almost full screen usage. I swapped back and forth a couple times with layers here too, before the actual ROM review, you're going to see I am at 71%. It says 9 hours left. That's never really accurate. But screen on time right now, as of the recording, is 2 hours and 26 minutes, 53 seconds and counting. And as you can see, I am rocking 70% of battery still. So, I mean, you can see the results are ridiculous. And I am using a white layer. So a darker layer would probably get me even better results. And I have been at 50% brightness since 100%. And I do go up to 100% during the day sometimes because I am outside. Anyway, guys, that pretty much wraps up AOSiP. I hope I covered everything you guys wanted me to cover in a decent amount of time. I mean, we're at about 25 minutes, give or take. And I think I covered everything that I currently use in terms of the ROM in particular and the kernel. I won't get into applications or anything like that in this video. I did mention that I am going to come out with a swipe navigation video pretty soon. Oh, I am using the Google Now launcher if you guys are curious. It's just really easy. And with swipe navigation, you know, I can do some good stuff. I also have a dock with swipe navigation. Just giving you guys a quick preview here of what I use. But anyway, that pretty much wraps this video up, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give me a thumbs up down below. If you didn't like it, tell me why, and I can improve on that, or I can answer any questions in the comment section down below. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next video. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Peace.